After ranking the 10 best infields in Major League Baseball, I was actually pretty confident I had gotten the right 10 teams in basically the right order. But after spending the last 2 days poring over every MLB team's projected outfield, I'm a lot less confident in this list. So, relatively tentatively, here are my 10 favorite outfields going into the 2021 season. Most of the rules I went over in the last video still apply, so check that one out if you have any complaints. The difference being in today's video, if there are blatant platoons at work, I'll try to take that into account. Our number 10 spot on this list will be held by the reigning AL champion Tampa Bay Rays. The Rays' MO has been a squad full of solid role players without any true stars, but in 2020, Randy Arozarena showed the talent to break that mold. His career 167 WRC plus is great, but in just 100 plate appearances. Although when you factor in he has a 1200 OPS and 91 playoff plate appearances, that's MVP level production over about a third of a season of at-bats. This has led to Arozarena shooting all the way up to 4th overall on Fangraphs prospect rankings, with expectations high for his first full season. While no one's expecting a repeat of 2020, Randy has displayed savant-level bat and hand speed, which have let him show power nobody expected from him as a prospect and catapulted him into the league spotlight. I'm high on him overall, and I think he'll be around a 125 WRC plus hitter, good for around 3 to 4 WAR, and a good piece in the middle of a contender's lineup. In center will be Kevin Kiermaier, going into his age 31 season, but still keeping on as one of baseball's premier outfield defenders. His defense isn't exactly all-world anymore, and his bat will probably hover around a 700 OPS, but his defense is still good enough to make him an above-average everyday player. Finally, in right field is a platoon between Austin Meadows and Manuel Margot. Margot is still just 26 and has been slowly, steadily improving for the last 3 years between San Diego and Tampa. In 2021, he'll probably be around a 95 to 100 WRC plus hitter, with great defense in right, good for around 1.5 WAR. He's complemented by Meadows, who in 2019 was an all-star with a 143 WRC plus, but regressed hard last year. I think he'll be solid at the plate with around a 120 WRC plus, and above average production, especially since he doesn't need to hit lefties much, and his lackluster glove can be covered in late innings by Manuel Margot. I'm sticking the Brewers at number 9, who made the addition of Jackie Bradley Jr. in free agency. Really though, basically all of the offensive value comes from projected left fielder Christian Yelich. Yelich was not great in 2020, but still above average at the plate, and he was the best hitter in the National League in both 2018 and 2019. He's probably the best left fielder in baseball with Juan Soto's move to right field, so I'd fully expect Yelich to contend for another MVP this year, especially since his exit velocity numbers were still excellent in 2020. In center field should be Lorenzo Cain, who opted out of 2020 after a relatively unsuccessful 2019 with an 83 WRC+, despite some pretty good StatCast numbers and fine peripherals. In 2021, I'd expect around a league average performance at the plate, although he is 34 years old, so a continuing decline wouldn't be a huge surprise. His glove should still be good though, so if he can be a league average hitter, he could be worth 3 to 4 WAR. In right field is Jackie Bradley Jr., who was very solid in 2020 with a 120 WRC+, and a good defense in center. Unfortunately, Bradley had the highest BABIP of his career with not great StatCast numbers, so a lot of his offensive output was pretty unsustainably lucky. His defense that was once excellent has been more good than great in recent seasons, so moving him to right should make him excellent, but at a less important defensive position. The Brewers overall should have one of the best defensive outfields in the league, but I don't think their offensive production will stand out much. Our number 8 outfield is the Astros. Yeah, I get it. They re-signed left fielder Michael Brantley, who's going into his age 34 season, but is shaping up to be a somewhat ageless contact hitter. He's hit 300 with at least a 125 WRC+, while staying pretty healthy for 3 straight seasons, so while some age-based regression is likely, Brantley will still produce. His defense is up for debate based on the metric you look at, but it should be alright, and I wouldn't be surprised if Brantley is an all-star again. In center field is Miles Straw, who's basically an old-school speed defense center fielder that won't hit much. In 98 games in the majors, he hasn't hit a single home run en route to an 84 WRC+, which seems like a reasonable guess for his 2021 production, but he has the speed to steal 30-plus bases and should be a good, if not great, defender in center. In short, he won't be good, and probably won't even be average, but he's a fine stopgap. In right field will be Kyle Tucker, who seemed to be a top 10 prospect forever until finally breaking out in 2020 with a stellar 126 WRC+, and good StatCast numbers. He's only 24, so definitely could continue improving, but I'd expect around the same level of production over a full season with middling defense, giving the Astros outfield 2 quality top-of-the-order bats. Our number 7 team will be... Well, first, actually, I have a question for you. Do you believe in Will Myers? If you do, then the Padres are top 5. If you're me, then I think this is about right for San Diego's outfield. In 2020, Will Myers had an MVP level 154 WRC+ with improved defense and excellent StatCast numbers, but that was only in 218 plate appearances. So can a 30-year-old whose walk rate is below average and strikeout rate is well above average have long-term success? He needs to maintain his career bests in barrel rate and exit velocity, but projections don't expect that for 2021. I'd expect around a 115 WRC+, which is solid, but not terribly exciting for an average fielding corner outfielder. In center field is Trent Grisham, who broke out in 2020 after his trade to San Diego. He hit for a 121 WRC+ behind surprising power with 20 homers in the shortened season, and had a great 12.3% walk rate. He was also a Gold Glove finalist in center field and stole 10 bases. His power, on-base percentage, and speed make him the ideal leadoff hitter for San Diego, and he should continue to be around a 120 WRC+ hitter with great speed and defense in a premium spot, which over a full season could be worth around 5 WAR. Finally, Tommy Pham will be the left fielder for the Padres, and I think his bad 2020 was more of a fluke than a trend. He's consistently had a great walk rate in the majors, so if his power can come back and he can stay healthy, Pham is an above average hitter even if he is 33 years old. I'd expect around a 120 WRC+ with below average defense and left, making him a productive but unexciting hitter near the middle of the Padres order. At number 6, we have an outfield with two 2020 breakouts and an established star with the Blue Jays. Teoscar Hernandez and Lourdes Gurriel Jr. are very similar players, below average defensive outfielders in their late 20s that were excellent at the plate in the short 2020. They also both walk less and strike out more than you'd like, which holds them back to an extent, and they really need to continue hitting the ball hard to maintain consistent success. Gurriel in left has more of a contact-based approach as opposed to Hernandez, who's a power hitter, but both have the talent to be successful with around a 120 to 130 WRC+ in 2021. Gurriel in particular has noticeably improved every year of his career, so I expect a solid 3+ WAR production from both. And of course in center field is newly signed George Springer, who in the last 5 years has been a top 15 position player and the second best center fielder in the majors. He's actually been getting better, with a career-high 157 WRC+ in 2019 and a career-low strikeout rate in 2020. He's probably more of a right fielder defensively, but he'll be serviceable in center if not good. Going into his age 31 season, Springer is still very much in his prime, and probably has a couple more near MVP level seasons in him. Overall, the Blue Jays' outfield defense will probably stink, but they'll also hit enough where I don't think it'll matter. Speaking of which, I'm going with the Mets to start the top 5. In left field is Dom Smith, who might be the biggest wannabe designated hitter I talk about today, but has totally raked since 2019. His 164 WRC+ in 2020 was 6th in baseball, right behind AL MVP Jose Abreu. And yeah, he doesn't walk much, but he consistently makes very solid contact and is a well-balanced hitter. Think of him as Will Myers that trades some defense for better contact skills. I'd expect around a 130 WRC+ with bad defense in 2021 overall. In center field is Brandon Nimmo, who has been a productive top-of-the-order bat when healthy his whole career. He has a 138 career WRC+ with a 390 on-base percentage and 15% walk rate. He has the 8th best on-base percentage in baseball since 2018, right between Anthony Rendon and Justin Turner, which makes him an ideal leadoff hitter. Defensively, he's more of a left fielder than a center fielder, so that holds him back from being a star. He should still be around a 4 WAR player as long as he stays healthy though, which is very solid. Finally, we have Michael Conforto in right, who at age 28 is in the middle of his prime and had a career-high 157 WRC+ and 322 average in 2020. His BABIP was super unsustainable, but the guy is just a natural hitter, with solid plate discipline, and I'd be surprised if he doesn't hit for at least a 130 WRC+ for a few more seasons. Of course, he is below average in right field, and his defense probably won't get any better, but he's still around a 4 WAR player over a full season. The Mets outfield is going to hit more consistently than the Jays outfield, but also probably will be even worse defensively, so take your pick between the two. In 4th place, I decided to go with a Nationals outfield who, from what I can gather, I'm much higher on than most people. They acquired Kyle Schwarber in free agency to play left, and after a poor 2020, I think Schwarber is an obvious bounce-back candidate. In 2020, Schwarber still hit the ball hard, but his ground ball rate skyrocketed, which tanked his BABIP and his StatCast expected stats. If Schwarber's BABIP can regress to his career averages, he's an easy 115 to 120 WRC+ hitter, but he has the raw power to be even better than that. His defense is pretty bad, but probably not as terrible as you'd expect from looking at him. In center is Victor Robles, who had a 4 WAR rookie campaign in 2019 before regressing both offensively and defensively last year. A lot of that can be attributed to Robles bulking up physically, but he seems to have reverted back to his 2019 figure this year, which should at least let him go back to being one of the best defensive center fielders. Just going back to his 2019 form makes Robles a very productive player, but if he can be even a league average hitter, which is well within the realm of possibility, he could be an all-star. I think Robles will be worth between 3 and 4 WAR with a mediocre bat but still excellent defense. Finally, we come to Juan Soto, who yeah, he's pretty good at hitting baseballs. He was the best hitter in baseball last year with an otherworldly 200 WRC+. He's the odds-on favorite to be the best offensive player in the National League, and he easily has the talent to lead the majors in home runs and on-base percentage. He's projected to have the second highest OPS in the league and should be worth around 6 WAR with an even higher ceiling. His defense stinks, but at just 21, he could possibly improve, and yeah, he could still get better at the plate too. With Schwarber and Soto in the corners, a lot of the success in this outfield hinges on Robles' defense and center covering his teammates' lack of range, but I'm high on Robles' defense, so overall I'm high on this outfield. Number 3 will be everyone's favorite New York Yankees, who have 3 players with super high offensive ceilings. In left will be Clint Frazier's first full season, and he's looking to follow up on a breakout 2020 where he had a 149 WRC+ and 160 plate appearances. He had a 15% walk rate, which greatly outpaced any other year in his career, or really anything he's expected to produce as a prospect. He pairs it with plus power that could hit 30 homers and 30 doubles in a full season, which he should get a chance to do as long as he doesn't start the year super slow. I think we'll see Frazier hit for around a 120 WRC+ with above average defense in left. The Yankees center fielder will be Aaron Hicks, who quietly has been a top 5 center fielder in baseball for several seasons when healthy. Hicks is sort of similar to Brandon Nimmo with excellent plate discipline, but Hicks is actually a native center fielder, so he won't lose a ton of value on defense, although he isn't great. He also has the power to hit 25 homers, making him one of the best offensive center fielders in baseball when healthy. Hicks's problem, similar to Nimmo, has always been staying on the field, and he's never played a full season in his 8-year career. But if Hicks can stay healthy, he's just 31 and could be that 4 to 5 WAR player we saw in 2018. In a very similar vein, Aaron Judge will man right field, and man, I don't know if there's any player in the league that's more frustrating to be a fan of. He hits the ball as hard as anyone in baseball and is a great defender with a cannon arm that's been worth 6.5 WAR per 650 plate appearances in his career, with not a single season below a 139 WRC+ since his rookie year. But he also hasn't played a full season since his rookie year, and it doesn't seem likely that'll change in 2021 with Judge's anomaly of a build. In a full season, Judge will absolutely contend for an MVP, but more realistically, he'll be worth around 4 WAR with around a 145 WRC+ and about 100 games, which is still an excellent pace, but the Yankees should 100% focus on keeping Judge healthy for the playoffs. Ultimately, for the Yankees outfield, the name of the game is avoiding injury and staying on the field. You've probably figured the top 2 teams by now, so I'll end the suspense and place the Braves in the second spot. In left, they bring back Marcell Ozuna, who put up career best in almost every rate stat in 2020 with a 179 WRC+, second in the NL. Ozuna doesn't field much, but if he can hit anywhere near as well as last year, he definitely doesn't need to. He had a career best walk rate in 2020, so if he can keep that up, he should definitely be an impact middle-of-the-order bat with a 130 to 140 WRC+. In center field is top 10 prospect Christian Pache, who is just 22 and might not hit much until he develops more, but he should instantly be a Gold Glove contender with an 80 grade glove and 70 grade speed. Pache's bat has some pop and could hit around 270 or 280 in a good year, although it'll probably never be great. Overall, I think we'll see a season similar to Victor Robles' 2019, with around a 90 WRC+, but defense so good he could easily be worth 4+ WAR. Finally, in right field is Ronald Acuna Jr., who in about 2 seasons of at-bats has proven he's one of the 5 or so best hitters in the league. In 2020, Acuna had a weird year with just a 250 average and career-high strikeout rates, but also career-best walk rates and a 158 WRC+. His defense is also excellent in a corner outfield spot, and he's 1 year removed from a near 40-40 season, so his athleticism is almost unparalleled among outfielders. In 2019, Acuna put up 5.6 FWAR and a 126 WRC+ in his only full season, but his offensive ceiling is actually way higher than what he showed in 2019. His 2020 walk rate was 8 points higher, so if he can maintain that, he should be one of the best hitters in the league, and a 7+ WAR season is far from out of the question. The Braves have an outfield that at its best could have 3 All-Stars, and at its worst will still have a perennial MVP candidate. Before number 1, let's talk about 4 teams that just missed out on the list. Oakland has Mark Canha, who has quietly been an all-star level hitter recently, and Ramon Laureano, who's solid, but I'm not super high on Steven Piscotty in right. The Twins were probably number 11 on both the infield and outfield lists. They bring back Byron Buxton and Max Kepler, who could both be 4+ WAR players if things go right, but in left they have Jake Cave, who's just about the most unexciting player in the league. The Cubs have Ian Happ in center, who I'm a big fan of, and Jock Peterson in left, who could hit some bombs, but I don't think Jason Hayward will continue his 2020 resurgence. Finally, of course, I have to talk about the Angels, where Mike Trout is projected to be the best player in the league, but he's flanked by Justin Upton and Dexter Fowler, who are both well past their primes and not super likely to contribute much of anything. Bring on the hate comments, baby, because I don't really even think it's up for debate that the Dodgers have the best outfield in baseball. Starting in left with AJ Pollock, who is fine but probably not great. He had a huge power surge and quietly led the Dodgers in homers last year, but his true talent is probably more of a 115 WRC plus hitter with poor defense in left. That is more than made up for by Cody Bellinger in center and Mookie Betts in right, though. I fully believe Bellinger will bounce back to near his 2019 form next season, and even if he doesn't, he proved in 2020 he can be a great defensive center fielder, so his floor starts around 4 WAR. Bellinger just hits the ball too hard and has walk and strikeout rates too good and not to be a successful hitter. He's projected for 5.4 WAR, which is 7th best among all position players, so projection systems are betting on a comeback as well. Mookie Betts, on the other hand, does not need to bounce back. He hit for the second highest WRC plus of his career in 2020 while maintaining his Gold Glove level defense in right. He's pretty much the safest bet in baseball to be an all-star MVP candidate, and is projected for the 3rd most WAR for position players with a 6. The Dodgers have star power and the only outfield in baseball with 2 legitimate MVP candidates, which I think makes it a pretty cut and dry case to call them the best outfield in baseball. So there you go, the 10 best outfields in the league in my humble opinion. If you have any comments about how biased I am, make sure to leave a comment and sub to the channel so you can leave comments on all my videos telling me how biased I am. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.